for certain networking events that I couldn't be at. I would find a way to get the roster, and then I would call those people and say, like, hey, it was so wonderful meeting you at the networking event, even though I wasn't there.
Because they met so many people they can't remember anyway.
I remember anyway.
What up, y'all? John Wetmore back with another episode of the Insurance Insiders Podcast. We're taking a cool little journey around the insurance industry, finding cool people to help you grow your sales, grow your business, your agency, whatever you got going on, and give you cool tips and tricks from some of the dopest people in the industry. So today we have Priscilla Moreno. How are you today?
Incredible. Happy that I woke up this morning. So thank you for having me.
It sure as shit beats the alternative, don't it?
It sure does.
You know how few people tell me they're doing incredible when I ask? I find it
really
wild. Yeah, dude. I challenge people every day. Most people are like, I'm okay. I'm doing good. I'm like, really?
Yeah, I'll have to tell you
to just be here.
I have to tell you something I listened to recently with Tony Robbins. It was really good. I'll tell you later.
Let's go. No, tell me now. Why not?
Yeah, well, so I was listening to, it's just random stuff. Like once you fix your like For You page on like any social media, it starts feeding you good information. You know, like when I first started insurance, it was showing me like cooking stuff and stuff that wasn't good for my business. And then when I started watching like podcasts and things that were feeding good vibrational stuff into my brain, then it started that I got good with algorithms, you know? So the other day I clicked on something Tony Robbins was saying, and he's like, what if God came down and was like, hey, creation, like, how are you liking it down here? And you just started like complaining and said like, the weather's terrible. You know, like, why didn't you make it 71 degrees every day? Would have been amazing. Like I'm getting like bit by these mosquitoes, and you start complaining. And then what if God went to somebody else and that other person said like, I'm doing incredible. The weather's always different. So I never know what I'm going to get. Every morning is different. Like when I wake up in the morning, I'm so grateful because I haven't seen this morning before. And then like these fire ants are like, they're so powerful. Like what you created, like even when it bites me, it reminds me I'm alive. He's like, who would God want to spend time with? I was like, ooh, that's good.
I love it. Tony Robbins is a beast.
Yeah.
He's a different breed.
Oh no, he's crazy. Superhuman.
I like so the algorithm will mess people up if they watch garbage and negative stuff. And I think if people contribute to that crap, it definitely feeds. And I tell people this all the time. I don't spend a ton of time on social. I more create than I consume it. Mm-hmm. But when I do go on and I'll scroll for a second or two, I can't do it for more than a minute or two ever, but I do. And I find myself, I spend more time unfollowing people than I do anything else. Mm-hmm. Just to get it to where, especially on Facebook, Instagram's they got me down. I don't see anything negative on Instagram. On Facebook, because I get so many people that follow me, new people will come in, and it's crazy how many people's feed is just full of shit. And I'm like, oh my God, I wish it would start with unfollow, and I had to purposely follow people instead of the other way. I have to go and unfollow them all. And I'm trying not to be mean and not accept them, but you know, what do you do?
It's crazy, like how, like it's easy for you to cut people off. It's really easy for me too. Like if I don't know you very well, like and you're not enriching my life in a certain way, like I'm like, okay, unfollow. But it's so funny how like people get so attached. Like that's interesting. Like just
I can't do it.
Next.
I can't do it. I wasn't even on social for a while, and then everyone was like, "Dude, you're a dipshit." There's a lot of business. I don't remember who I was following. It was like a Gary V or something like that, and he's like, "Social's all kind of relative to what you use it for." You know what I mean? If you're not using it for business purpose and to consume positive stuff, that's on you. If you're letting it be negative, and like that's your fault.
Yeah. So. Well, and it affects like how you show up for me, you know, like I'm like, if whatever you're consuming, it's like, if I'm consuming bad food, I'm going to show up differently. So if I'm consuming bad things into my brain, I'm going to show up differently. So when it comes to social media, but it's like funny that you say that, because I had asked somebody, I had a big major knee surgery a year ago. So I'm working on getting like more back consistent into the gym and like my diet and stuff. And so I asked somebody, I was like, I'm just really struggling with sleep. Like I wake up in the middle of the night and he's like, when do you stop scrolling? Like right before bed, when do you stop scrolling? And I was like, right before. And I was like, okay. I was like, that's all I needed to know. He's like, well, stop scrolling like 2 hours before and then go to bed.
Yeah. So I put a limit on my phone. I can only see, I did this like maybe a month ago. because I'm pretty good with it anyway, but I like to continue to challenge myself. I gave myself an hour a day limit, and that includes every social platform and my email. Because
So
I
do you
would
have
like
like
find
a
my,
timer on your phone?
yeah, yep. You can go on the iPhone and put a little, it's part of the just time. I don't know what I just found the setting one day. I think it's like what do they call that? The time, there's a name for it. I forget right now. It's super easy, but you can pick which apps. And so I put in literally every social platform there is, not only Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, but like Slack, some of the ones that I use for business, and both I have a Gmail and an Outlook email. Both of them are in there, an hour a day limit. And if I hit it, it pops up. It's like, sorry, you've reached your limit. I can override it if I want to.
Yeah.
But mentally, I'm like, man, why do I check my email 475 times a day?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And 90% of what I do is go archive. And then, dude, my favorite button on that iPhone is the do not disturb button. I got that sucker on all the time.
That's so good. I'm going to share that with my team for social media limits, because I'm like, we really don't realize it.
Yep. So it's helped, and I like days where the limit doesn't pop up, because it means I've done a good job, not like just mindlessly checking stuff just for the shit, just because I got nothing else to do. Yeah. So I'm like, cool, hour a day, again, including email. So I'm careful. I only check my email a few times a day, 2-3 times a day max. I knock out what I need to knock out, and I just forget about it. So which is cool.
Yeah. I mean, because we're pretty reachable. I mean, I'm sure I can Google you and find you very easily and text you.
Yeah. And if people call or text, I'll answer. But the nonsense, like email ain't important to me. If it were important, you'd call or text.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I turned off, I'm crazy. I have like crazy OCD. Like when you get notifications, all the little bubbles. Where it says you got 1 of these, 2 of these, 400 of these. I can't look at it and not click it. Yeah. So I don't have any the only notifications on my phone are the calls and the text. There's not one app on my phone otherwise that gives me a notification bubble.
Yeah, I have the same on mine.
I turn them all off. So if I want to know, I just go check. But I don't get interrupted with like, hey, here's a new message, or like on the little screen here. You know how it was like the only thing that pops up on that screen is my calendar of stuff. Nothing else.
You don't even have your email on there.
No, hell no. No email, not text, literally nothing shows up on this blank notification screen. Only my calendar items. So if I get a text, it doesn't pop up on my phone. It shows a bubble, but it's silent and it's there. And it's just mental. I like to be in control of stuff. If you're looking to transform your insurance sales game in just 12 weeks, this course I put together is for you. Go over 20 different topics, everything from sales to goal setting to lead plans, and everything I've done in the last decade plus, having multiple 6-figure sales success. I've helped hundreds and hundreds of agents get to multiple 6 figures all over the country, mentoring and speaking at all kinds of events. So available now at jwcourse.com, or you can click the link in the description. One day, some dude taught me. I was working with this coach once. I talk about this a little bit often. And he had me like document my entire week in 15-minute increments. So I went through the whole week. It was a pain in the ass to do, but every 15 minutes, I spent a week documenting everything I did. And we looked at it at the end of the week. And he goes, dude, it looks like you spend all day fielding fly balls. I'm like, what the hell do you mean? What?
They putting out fires.
Yeah, just whatever people throw at you, you go get. So if someone dings you on your phone, you go get it. If someone sends you an email, you go. It's like, so wherever the balls are hit, you're chasing everything around all day long versus being in control of your schedule. And I started.
I like how you worded that.
Yeah, it messed me up too. I was like, you think about your kids. I don't know. You have kids? I don't even know the answer to this. I got all kinds of stuff.
I have nieces and nephews that are like my kids, and I have 2 dogs.
Okay, cool. So little kids obviously play baseball, and they practice, they just hit, and they literally run all over the field trying to catch fly balls like crazy people. And he's like, that's kind of what your day's like when you see Maddox out there running around trying to catch the coaches flies that you can't really control the act. You know what I mean? They're just going everywhere. And I'm like, shit, I get a lot of perspective on my day.
I've done that before, that time audit. I did it. I hired a business coach way before I could even afford one, but I knew that I needed one. So I hired her 8 months into the business. I was still broke. And I just found a way to scrounge up money and pay her. And she did the same thing. She was like, well, let me see your schedule, because that's the one thing you can control. And there was times where it was like, she goes, what did you do during the whites of your schedule? And I was like, self-doubt, cried myself in the bathroom,
Yeah.
And so when I calculated all of that time that I lost just by like doubting myself or doubting if I could make it in the business, I was like, gosh, I could have been working on my business and I doubt myself less, So I
How
think that
long
happens
have you
a
been
lot.
in the business? I know you're in the health space, right? Independent health agent. I know you have a team. We'll get into some of the details, but how long you been in business? How long you been?
5 years. I'm in my 6th year.
Okay. Very cool. What'd you do before?
I worked retail before, so I ran stores. And then retail slowly dying. I mean, I loved every minute of it. I just didn't realize
Did
that yeah, I did. Because I like shopping for other people. Like I got paid to
you?
shop.
Clothes, retail clothes, like clothing?
Clothes. Yeah, clothes, fine jewelry, cars. I mean, I used to say that I've sold everything. When before insurance, I used to say I've sold everything except for drugs and real estate. I didn't know about insurance.
Yeah.
That's what I used to say before. And so I would go into like a certain territory or district and then help them go back into the positive, going from like almost closing, go back into positive, and then they would move me into a different area.
For a particular company or
Yeah,
different companies have
different
that?
companies. Yeah.
Really? So they just came and found you because you were good at fixing stuff.
Yep. Yep.
Badass.
Yep. And then I mean, I loved it. Like I had like a company car, I had a credit card. I just didn't realize I was built for something better. Like I was like, this is great because I was like, I'm gonna retire here. And then I got laid off. I got laid off twice in retail. And so I'm like, I loved it, but I'm like, I didn't love all the PTO I lost. I didn't love all the holidays I lost, all the time with my family I lost. I didn't love that part of it. And then I went into healthcare administration, and that was worst thing I've ever done, but I'm glad I did it.
What is
And
that?
that's what got me
What's that mean?
So it's the people that, you go to the doctor's office and you give them your insurance cards and they verify benefits and they tell you what your insurance covers. And then, so I did like medical billing and coding and stuff.
Okay. I used to be an accountant for a company that did that, and they always wanted to kill people because they spent all day arguing with insurance companies and then having to tell customers they couldn't get coverage or they owed money or whatever. And I remember that department was steady pissed off.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, and then I'm very outgoing and like naturally a positive person. So I was like, did anyone want to go to lunch today? And they're like, can you close the door, please? I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, I don't know what this world is. But I learned a lot about like when people would give me their insurance cards, like they didn't know anything. Like they were always so disappointed. They're like, oh my gosh, I owe a deductible. What's that even mean? And so for me, like my second year, and I helped them go into positive too. They were also struggling. And so my second year, they were like, thank you so much for converting client or patients into care. Like you told them what their insurance covered and then you scheduled them for care. So thank you for doing that. But we didn't realize you were going to hit all your commissions and bonuses. So we like overpaid you. And I was like, well, if you get a salesperson to come help you in your business and you waive commissions and bonuses, like I'm going to hit them all. Yeah. And so sorry, not sorry, And so the second year they gave me a raise for my salary, which is like you're selling your dream,
Yeah.
And then they took away all the commissions and bonuses. So when I worked in retail, I made 6 figures my whole career since I was 20 years old, because I worked a crap ton. And then when I went into healthcare, my first year I made 80 grand and I was like, well, I have my life back, and then my second year I made 55,000. So I went into debt quickly. Because my whole making 6 figures from 20 years old, like you accumulate payments, like car payments, stuff like they go with that. And so, going to making 55,000, I started in my insurance business over John, negative bank account.
No kidding. How'd you get into this side of insurance, like selling insurance versus administrative side? Was it connected or just total coincidence?
Total coincidence. One of my friends, she's a recruiter, but she recruits like engineers and stuff. And so I was like, hey, you recruit, can you like place me somewhere? And she was like, I don't do salespeople. She goes, but I'll work on your resume. I'll at least help you, Yeah. So and I've never needed a resume because I always got recruited everywhere. And so I gave her my resume and she goes, Priscilla, it was so bad. I should have charged you. And I was like, well, I appreciate you helping me, And so she posted it online to work on it, not to like get anyone to call me. And so for some weird reason, somebody in insurance
people
called and they were like, hey, do you want to do insurance? And I was like, I already do it, because I didn't know what they meant. And so it's like, oh, I already do insurance. I'd love to get paid more for it, you know? So I went to go talk to them and listen to their pitch, you know, the infamous pitch.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no freaking way people make this amount of money, like just by like helping people. And so I thought it was a scam. I was like, I quit on my interview.
Really?
Yeah. And so I went back
Would
to
they tell you what would they tell you that caught you? Like income wise, what do you remember from that?
Yeah, so they were going over like products and stuff that we'd have access to, and all of it was like, it's funny. I thought I knew a lot about insurance because I built it, and then seeing on the sales side, I was like, well, what are the carriers? They're like, this is the carrier. Like this is that's the network. And I was like, oh, what? Okay. And so I was like, I actually don't know as much as I thought I knew, you know? And then as he's going over all of that stuff, somebody walks by and he goes, that girl over there, she made 267,000 last year. And she walked by, and she's like, I live in Texas. So we're like casual, like she was in cowboy boots and jeans and in a like a nicer, like a cardigan and jeans. And I was like, there's no way. She's not like walking around with a Prada handbag, you know? I was like, she did not make that. And so I was like, these people are lying. And then I went back into healthcare, and I was like, well, I have nothing to lose by going and like at least asking more information. But I went back to my job that was so fabulous. It was paying me $55,000 a year, you know, the next day. And a doctor walked in and she was like, what are you doing? I was like, well, I showed up an hour early to help you with your business today, to make sure business goes successfully. And she was like, well, you're eating on the job. And I was like, okay. I was in my mid 30s. I was like, I cannot get talked to like that. That's ridiculous. And so I went to go inquire. I was like, okay, well, tell me more about this. And that was so unlike me. Normally I would have called and been like, hey, thank you so much for the pitch or whatever it was, like the meeting that, you know, I attended. But thank you, but no thank you. But I was like, you know what, let me go tell them thank you, but no thank you in person. And I'm going to go say that to salespeople, which is like the worst thing you can do is tell them no in person. And so the person that my mentor, when I was going to say no to her, she was like, well, let's see, come sit down next to me. And she's like, I have a client actually right now that I need help. You want to watch me close that client? And I was like, sure. And it looks super easy because I mean, she was 5 years in, and she didn't show me what it took to find that client. She just, you know, and I was like, man, that looks so easy. And she's like, yeah, I made like $1,000. I was like, that's what I make in a week right now. And you just made that in 30 minutes and you like took care of the client and like they get a better plan. You know, it's like, that doesn't seem right. And I was like, well, the director, when during the pitch said you made 267,000, it was that girl. I was like, he said you made 267,000. I was like, is that true? And she was like, well, I don't like to share my income. She was like, but I'll show you. So she logged into her portal and showed me all her statements. And I was like, okay. And she goes, you should do this. Just quit your job.
And that was it.
Yeah, that was, well, they called me to get licensed because, you know, and she was like, just book my calendar. I'll get you paid. Work on getting licensed and we'll take it from there. So I was like, okay. So then I started literally like a week and a half later. I put in my 2 weeks notice. I wasn't going to. I was going to like dip my toe in the water and see. But I kept going in there. I was like, this is just keeping me from. I'm not going to make 55,000 here, and it's keeping me from working on my business over there. So I was like, let me just strip the Band-Aid. And they were supposed to pay me $2,400 that week, or like my last paycheck was supposed to be $2,400 because we had hit our goal, our bonus goal. And so I was like, I asked them like multiple times. I was like, that's still going to get paid though, right? Like, because I worked that entire month. And they're like, absolutely. And so then I didn't get it paid. And they were like, oh, it's because you had put in your notice. That's why. And so they didn't pay me that $2,000. So my last paycheck that I thought was going to be like 2,400, that I was like, well, I can pay my rent and I can at least have like a little cushion to give me time to sell something. It was 400. So that immediately put me in overdraft. I was like, man, y'all suck. I was like, that was more confirmation that I was making the right decision. And so, I told my mentor, I was like, I'm in overdraft and my rent is due next week. And she's like, oh, okay, well, better start working then. I was like, oh, okay.
So you got licensed that quick?
I got licensed
in that week and a half?
I got licensed in 3 weeks.
Dope. Got it.
Yeah. Well, so I got licensed in 3 days actually. So I got licensed in 3 days. I passed my test.
Yeah. You had to wait for
Yeah, I had to wait for, because my name is misspelled, so I had to wait for the actual license to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you
but
passed your pre-license in 3 days.
in 3 days, yeah.
It took 3 weeks to get. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny, and I know you're recruiting and building a team, and
Yeah.
I think you have a fair amount of agents. I don't remember the number, but I was impressed when I heard the number when we were at Cody's last thing. I was like, oh shit, who knew? I didn't know. I've seen you around a little bit, but I didn't know you had that good a crew. And it's funny how many people take months and months and months and months, or they drag it out and overthink it, and
Yeah. They didn't tell me that. Like, they didn't say like some people take months to get licensed. She was like, take this course and schedule your test this week. And I was like, okay. So I just did what I was told. I feel like that's what people
hey, a big tip right there for those of y'all watching. You know what I mean? It's like you do see a lot of people go like, well, you could do, and they're like hesitant to get people to move. We do the same thing. I always tell people, like, the fastest I've ever seen someone get it, they registered like on a Tuesday and they passed their exam on like a Wednesday. It was like a day and a half they passed it. That was the quickest anyone, direct to me. And I'm like, my wife did it in a week and she wasn't even trying to get in the business. She was only getting it to be the beneficiary. If I die, you know what I mean? Like, that's the only reason. I'm like, dude, if you take 2 weeks, like, it's like, you should just quit. Like, I don't even want you here.
We're just not going to remember it.
Yeah. So it's funny. Expectations is a funny thing.
Yeah. It's interesting because I coach and train now. So it's interesting to me, when people are like, well, I'm like, this is exactly what you should do. I tell them, like, numbers wise, exact numbers. I was like, I'll show you exactly. And then they negotiate that. I'm like, are you negotiating your success?
People do.
It's interesting. Because I'm like, I didn't think that. I guess I'm just not that analytical. I was like, oh, I do that. Okay. I go, you want me to make this many relationships? Okay. I didn't say like, well, I probably should have asked how, because then I just started walking into places and I had no idea what I was doing. But
is that how you get business? Cold marketing?
So I'm like 95%.
I know now probably different. I meant then.
Oh, then. So I was walking into cold marketing. A lot of like just walking into small businesses.
Like Aflac style. That's what they do. I got a buddy that's Aflac, and that's their approaches.
Yeah, similar. I would try to like do business with them to show that I was supporting them. Like, I'd go to a chiropractor and be like, well, you can pop my back. And then tell them, I do health insurance, so I can use a resource for my clients, just to give and support their business. And if they were, doing like a big event or something, then I would join them during their event, because people were like, well, does this health insurance cover? I'm like, hey, I can answer those questions. So I just be like conveniently there and partnering with people.
Got it. Do you sell like group plans or individual, all of it? I don't even know.
Yeah. Individual, but we sell to small businesses too. So if I have like a small business of 10, it still makes sense for them to do customizable individual plans as a group. So I don't do traditional group plans, but I have partners and stuff that do. So we'll go in together sometimes. Like, if we have a group of like 40, we'll just go in together.
Yeah, I got another buddy that does like big group plans. He sells like the government and state of Georgia and school education department, crazy stuff.
Yeah,
like, that's wild.
That's crazy. Like, how big some of those groups get. I have quite a few partners. Like, I have a partner in Oregon. And he doesn't do anything less than 1,000 employees.
Yeah. That's like this guy. He told me, he's like, sometimes it takes me like 5 years to lock down a client, but when I do, it's a wrap. It's a big one.
Yeah. I told him, I was like, maybe I should do what you do. When I was my first like year or so, I had met him already then. And so I was like, maybe I should do what you do. And he was like, Priscilla, you're just trying to find an easier way, and this is still hard. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, just get really good at what you do.
Yeah. So what's the pit when you're going around? Like, I always want to give people watching. There's someone new will watch this and be like, how do you do it? What do you say? What do you, give them some sales stuff. I mean, first of all, before you give them that, did you surpass the 267 that the chick?
Oh yeah, I did surpass that quite a bit ago, which was like really crazy to me. Like, when I did, because I thought like she was absolutely untouchable. And so when I passed her, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But yeah, I passed her like 3 years ago.
Dope. That's so sick.
Yeah.
What do you want to share? Will you share whatever you want to share? Numbers wise, income wise, I want to hear, but
yeah.
you don't have to share
So I average, as insurance people are watching this probably, or whoever. I'm pretty open. So I average about $1 million a year in AV, not in AVP, I guess people call it that. So annual volume. We call it
We
AP,
just call it AP, yeah, annual premium. I do see some people that say the AVP. I always wondered what the V meant. I didn't know that.
yeah, annual volume. We just say AV.
Yeah.
I don't know what AVP stands for, but
Annual
I didn't know what
premium, probably. I don't know.
Yeah. I didn't know what they were laughing at me because I only do private health insurance. And so I don't do any life insurance or anything or PNC or anything else. And so somebody was talking about FE and I was like, what does that stand for? And they're like,
I know that one. Yeah, I got that one down. I don't know a lot of stuff like this whole AEP thing. I don't know a ton. I think Nate uses AVP. I think I've seen his team post that.
Okay.
It's all an acronym for how much you get paid on. I mean, I think
right. Yeah. So I average about $1 million a year. I'm trying to, so I'm 5 years in and I'm close to 5 million. I'm trying to, in career production, I'm trying to bring that down a little bit because I want my team to be outproducing me by quite a bit. So that's where my goal is. And I will make over 500,000 this year.
Yep. You get renewal money is it the same renewal as the initial?
No, it's quite a bit lower, but it's quite a bit lower. It's like 3% for renewals. But we get quarterly bonuses. That's where a lot of our residual is. And so we can get, I'll say that like every quarter I make about 13,000 in just quarterly bonus for doing nothing, just people renewing.
Hey, that's your salary from before you started.
No, it is.
It's 52 grand.
And a bonus.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Life is good. So give them some sales stuff. How do you get to $1 million or in AP or $500,000 in income? Give them some sale, like, how do you do it out there? What do you do?
Yeah. So I mean, the first thing that I would say to like anybody, no matter like what I say in sales, is to find somebody. I'm like, find your people, right? I'm like, find somebody that is achieving what you want to achieve. Like, don't hang around people. I'm like, it's like a pet peeve of mine. I'm like, when they come back with opinions that somebody said, they're like, they said this is MLM. I'm like, do you want their life? They're like, no. I was like, then why are you listening to them? You don't want their life.
That's the most frustrating thing. Like, I had someone tell me last week, I Googled your company and they have a lawsuit. I don't want to be associated with anyone with lawsuits. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Do you eat anywhere? Do you shop anywhere? Have you ever Googled your church?
Right.
Your religion? Like, you're not trying to be an ass. We all got them.
Yeah. You're just finding a way out. Yeah. That's what it is. You're finding a way out instead of finding a way through.
Yeah.
So I'm like, anytime you want to achieve anything, you have to find a way through. So if you're doing something like a workout, I'm not going to just leave the gym. I'm going to work through and finish the workout. So you have to find a way through, Yeah. So
give them, you walk into a business. What are you saying to get in? What's your pitch?
So, I mean, if I walk into a business, I'm like, hey, how can I support your business? I'm also a small business owner, and I love to support other ones. I know I'm supporting a dream when I'm supporting you, and they love that stuff. I'm like, I know, like, if I support you or if I get a bunch of people to support you, I know I'm supporting like your daughter's dance lessons. Yeah. They're like, oh yeah. And then they start to ask about me. So I just make it like very like super easygoing, conversational.
You know what I love about stuff like this? Every time I do this, I'm like, so you mean it's stupid easy?
It's stupid easy. It is stupid easy. It's like highway robbery almost, like how much we get paid just to work.
How many doors? Here's the catch though. Yeah. How many businesses would you knock on? How many doors would you bang on? How many people would you talk to in an average week when you were new?
Yeah, so that's the kicker, right? Like,
yeah, there's the catch, people.
Yeah, there's a catch. You actually have to work. Let me see if I can find, and I can tell you ballpark real quick while I'm trying to find.
Are you one of those that tracks all your shit?
Not all of it, but a lot of it. Yeah. And
I'm a tracker.
Yeah. I'm definitely a tracker. I'm like, I don't know how people don't. Like if you're trying to accomplish something, like if I'm trying to be $1 million producer, I need to know how much I need to do every quarter. Like it's not going to magically get there. So my first year was from May 1st to the end of December. So I went to, and I'm a networker. So I went to a bunch of networking events and I was kind of old school and went in person. So, but I went to 517 events.
From May to December?
Yeah.
8 months, 500. So like 60 70 events a month.
Yeah.
So it's 2 a day.
Yeah.
7 days a week. Three a day, 5 days a week, basically.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'd start my days off at 7 in the morning and go have like a coffee or something, like a coffee and mingle or whatever, or BNI or whatever, networking in action. But a lot of them start early. So I would start early. Like I'd go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I was coaching then. I used to coach CrossFit. So I was coaching then so I could, I was coaching then so I could afford a little bit, afford groceries. Yeah. And so I'd work out at 5, I coach at 6, and then I would rush, shower at the gym, get there at like 7:15 or 7:30 because there's networking at the beginning. So if it started at 7, if I got there at 7:15, that's usually when the event would start. So I'd like 7:15, 7:30, finish the event, get back to the office, make a bunch of phone calls, like just a bunch of phone calls, trying to either be in front of somebody that can send me a piece of business or be in front of somebody that I was enrolling. And then I would go to like a lunch, a networking lunch. It's a lot of small businesses. If you cold call small businesses, they're at lunch. So I was like, well, let me go to a networking lunch so I can meet people. And then I'd get back from that and make calls. And then I'd finish my day with a happy hour.
Hell yeah. That sounds fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was time. That's why I started tracking because I was like, I'm not even working. And then, yeah. So that's why I started tracking that. But
easy. So it was all networking type events?
All networking type events.
Just go to some website where you find them, I assume.
Yeah.
Besides Google. I mean, you could Google. I know there's this one near, I think it's everywhere. Shit, what's it called? Damn, I ain't gonna think of the name of it.
Chamber events.
No, I don't know that one. This one's like you can meet for anything. If you want to like paint plastic frogs, they have a group for it locally. You know what I mean? Like weird shit.
Eventbrite.
Yeah, one of those types of things. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. It's crazy.
Yeah. So
magic is in the work.
You what?
The magic is in the work.
Yeah. And then I sent 12,156 personal messages. So after I would either meet people or add them on social media, I still do this.
12,000 just in those 8 months?
Yeah.
What on social or email or all of it?
No, direct messages on social media.
On social. Got it. So all the people you met at the, what'd you say, 700? What was the number? 700?
517.
517 meetings.
Yeah.
You got 12,000 contacts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if I got that many contacts, but 12,000 messages also from like adding people on social media. So
just random. They may not be from the business. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. What do the messages say?
You know what's so funny? I'll say this real quick. I found a way to, even if I didn't show up at a networking event, because I was like, how do I get maximize my time, right? Like I was like, how do I get more intentional with my time? So for certain networking events that I couldn't be at, like if they were scheduled at the same time and I had to choose one, then I would find a way to get the roster. And then I would call those people and say like, hey, it was so wonderful meeting you at the networking event, even though I wasn't there. And add those people on social media.
Because they met so many people they ain't gonna remember anyway.
They remember anyway.
Everyone's gonna play the game.
Yeah.
That is funny.
Yeah, because they were like, oh, yeah, you too. What'd you do again? Yeah, every time.
Dude, I used to show up to appointments when I came from direct mail early. We'd do direct mail leads.
Yeah.
And when I couldn't get people on the phone or they told me to F off or whatever, I would show up at houses. And one of the mentors of mine taught me this. So I didn't like create it. I saw someone else doing it and I copied it. Mm-hmm. I would show up to their house and I would write down on the lead like Wednesday, 1 p.m. And I would show up and I'd be like, hey, Priscilla, John, I'm here for our appointment. Mm-hmm. They'd be like, appointment? I'm like, yeah, we have our 1 o'clock. They're like, no, I don't have one. I'm like, wait, what? My office told me they set it up with you. Did they not confirm? And I'd like play dumb shit. Dude, I'd get into like 10, 15 houses a week sometimes doing that. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
What up, y'all? Officially releasing my book. You can go on and order it now at johnwetmore.com or click the link below. It's where I go over the 6 basic principles I implemented to go from a struggling agent for my first couple years to issuing nearly $500,000 at my own pen. Go through stories and examples and exercises that you can do to implement for yourself. Appreciate it. Again, johnwetmore.com. Get yours. Later.
Yeah, it was funny because like one of so I work really well with like state farms and stuff too, because they don't usually do health insurance. And people are going to ask about other lines, so I can send them business also, you know. And so I walked into a state farm. Or you'll get a kick out of this, but I mean, I gave myself like a 10-minute pep talk. I was like, they're not going to judge you. They're not going to judge you. Just walk in. And then the agent, and I just like put in like a candy jar with like my information on it. And then like 2 or 3 months later, the agent asked me out on a date. And I was like, I've been in your agency. Like, you've actually met me. Like, get on social media and ask me on a date. And so, so he was like, no, you haven't. And I was like, no, I've been in your agency. And so then he asked his manager, and his manager's like, oh yeah, we know Priscilla. We send her business all the time. And he was like, I'm so sorry. So I was like, I had to like talk myself into going into your state farm. And he was like, Priscilla, we do not judge you. Like, if you're coming in to do business with us, we're going to send you business because no one else does that. And so I was like, oh,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Because everyone like, I get a lot of people that are like, I'd have asked you or called you, but I know you're so busy. And I'm like, what's funny is literally every person thinks the same thing. So none of y'all call.
Right. Right.
And be clear, if you want to call, you better be working your ass off, because I won't take the call if you're not. But my point is same there, is like, everyone thinks there's 9 million people probably walked in this business, so no one does it.
Right. Right.
So it's not quite as competitive out there as some might think.
Yeah, no, for sure. It definitely
the average
isn't.
Insurance agent is not hard to outwork.
No, it's not. It's not at all. And so then I went to all of them. I was like, and nobody had ever, like 9 out of 10 of them had never met a health agent that did that. And so I was like,
then what do you just send them business that you don't write? You'll just refer each other business. I mean,
Yeah.
It's simple as shit.
Yeah.
So crazy.
And I've had people say that doesn't work. And I was like, well, I mean, I can show you my numbers. It works.
Yeah. Is that what you teach your team also? I assume the same copy paste process.
Yeah. Because I'm like, well, the thing, like the kicker to that, like if I meet one State Farm or I meet one PNC or one Medicare or whatever, the easiest way to build your network is to ask for connections. So if I'm, have like a really good relationship with a Medicare, I'm like, hey, like send me all your friends. Not to do insurance, just to connect with. Like, I'd like to see like how I can support them. They're like, oh yeah, absolutely. Here you go. And so people are scared to ask that. I'm like, why are you scared? Like, I don't even ask. I'm like, hey, can you connect us email or text? Either one, whatever works.
And what if they say no?
I'm still in the same spot. I didn't lose anything. So, but what if they say yes,
Correct. See, that's the reply I was looking for. There we go. I love it.
So 500 something meetings, 12,000 plus contacts. Y'all track apps, I assume, right?
Yes, we track.
How many apps did that give you that year? How many apps did you write?
I didn't track apps. I tracked AV.
Premium.
Yeah, premium.
Okay.
So it was 567,000 in premium.
What's your average app? $1,000?
Yeah, $1,000. About
like 500 apps.
No, it wouldn't have been. No, sorry, I said that wrong. Average app's about 7,000. Average app.
Oh, got it. Okay, so like 100 apps or something. Or
yeah, it should be like 100 apps.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, and then the income out of that, and this is just advances, obviously no bonuses or anything in there. The income from that was 71,129.
8 months, first year in the business.
Yeah.
No leads.
No
Just
leads.
work.
Yeah. No leads. No leads.
No excuses.
Yeah, no excuses either. No leads, no excuses.
Man.
So, yeah. And that was 8 months. So after 12 months, I did over $1 million after 12 months, and I did 6 figures.
And that first 12,
Yeah.
So sick. And now you're averaging that a year.
Yeah. No, that's my average year. Yep.
I love it. How many agents you have now selling on your team?
Yeah. No, we don't keep agents that don't sell. So we don't.
How long do you give them?
So, I mean, there's a lot of conversations that happen.
I mean, get it. It's case by case. I understand.
Yeah.
But on average, if I don't write for how long and multiple conversations, how long are you putting up with me?
I mean, if they're just not working, like 4 weeks, if they're not working. Now, for somebody that's like desperately working, and they.
Do you hear that?
You what?
Can you hear that in the background here?
Yeah. It's not very loud, but yeah.
I don't even know I had there's a phone ringing in my studio. I didn't even know I had a phone in here.
Yeah, it reminded me of the good old days.
Yeah. That's funny.
So
4 weeks.
yeah, 4 weeks if they're not working.
You're my style. I mean, I'm all about it. That's my style. I'm all
Yeah.
about it. I mean, I'm sure you've seen me talk enough to know I don't mess around. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be mean, but at the end of the day, it's like some people are like, well, that's mean. I'm like, I also think it's mean to waste my time for 4 effing weeks and not do shit.
Yeah.
I think that's mean on your side. You know
well,
what
I think it's mean to drag people through the mud that aren't working. I'm like, you need to go get a job.
Yeah, agreed. I think you're lying to them otherwise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's why I wanted to get into the details. Like, all right, what do we say? Nothing. Hey, are you interested in health insurance? I go, hey, do you need life insurance?
Mhm.
This isn't being deep.
Mhm.
It is really simple.
Yeah.
But
It's
most don't want to do the work and put up with, I mean, again, so call it 80 apps. Let's round up 100 apps, right?
Yeah.
On the high side.
Mhm.
That means basically 12,900 people said some form of no to you.
Yep.
In 8 months.
Absolutely. And it also means,
now my question would be to every agent, have you had 12,000 no's this year?
Right. Well, and it also means like that's 567,000 got issued. Yeah. You kind of suck your first year. So I submitted probably like 800,000.
Yeah. Yep. Declines and all that stuff.
Yeah. Withdrawals. Never mind. Buyers.
What is it like? Roughly, I know it's probably different by product and situational stuff, but am I mistaken that like in the health world, it's like 25% of that number's commission?
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah. 25. Yeah. Depending on what you're writing. Like if you're writing like, I know for us, like if we're writing just like base level plans, which none of our agents get trained like that, then you're probably making like 13%. Yeah. But if you're actually taking care of your clients and you're putting like accident policies and critical illness and stuff like that on there, yeah, about 20-25%.
That's what I know. I'm learning more about the other. I know enough people now, and I start asking a lot of these questions. And I've said this on multiple. I don't prep for this shit at all. Yeah. I just I'm curious, so I like to understand. But I'm learning a lot about other parts of the industry, which I like. I'm learning some cool things. You know, I go see y'all speak, and then I hear all this lingo, and I'm like, what does that mean? But now I'm so curious. I like what I'm learning. So back
so I'm going to be in Chicago. So it makes sense. This is helping me.
Oh, cool. I'll be there too.
Yep. Yeah, me and a business partner are going. You'll meet him, JY.
JY?
JY.
What does that stand for?
Jonathan Young. He just goes, he's JY, the insurance guy.
Yeah. I feel like I know that dude.
He said he knows you. So I feel like y'all know each other.
We're going to go live, right? I'm so bad with names, but when I see people, I'm almost positive I know who this guy is. Hold on, let me pull him up. JY the insurance guy. Yeah, he's on my social. JY the insurance guy, right?
Yep.
Oops.
Yeah, he should be on there.
Let's plug it. He's one of your mentors or you partners, or what do y'all do?
Yeah, we're business partners, so we work in the same. Yeah. Yep.
I've met this dude. I don't remember where, but I've definitely met him somewhere.
Yeah. He will also be speaking.
Very cool. Hell yeah.
He was a lot stronger on social media than I was. So that's why whenever I drop his name, they're like, oh yeah, we know JY.
Yeah, he's got the brand.
Yeah.
He's some branding over here. Free coffee, wake me up Wednesdays.
Yeah. So that's what I'm working on. I'm working on that with Cody.
Branding stuff.
Just
do a bunch of it.
Yeah.
My team told me you're putting out more and more stuff.
Yeah.
We're prepping for this thing. They give me this is how much prep we do. I got like 3 lines of notes. The independent health insurance agent has a great comeback story, which you talked about a little bit. Recently started going heavy into social and speaking at Cody's events.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. More than I need. I love it. So no more rock bottom.
Yeah.
Find your way out. How's that feel?
I mean, it feels good, but I'm like not anywhere near where I want to be. And so, I mean, it feels good to finally like say, I'm worth something. For a long time, I let people tell me what I was worth. I mean, I started insurance at 34, which I know like Cody's like, that's super young. But for me, I felt like I was old.
Yeah.
So
hell, in today's age, you see all these kids now, 19, 20-year-olds killing it.
Yeah.
You know,
19, 20-year-olds, insane.
Yeah. I mean, we got a gang of them printing money in the life world, like making I'm like, man, if I was smart enough to get in this business when I was that old. Instead, I was like flipping pizzas for $4 an hour.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I was in school, which I'm like, I don't use that degree, but I was in school. I was in school and I was working retail.
Yeah. So how many agents now sell on your team every month, roughly?
Our office has 87. That's in our Slack channel.
Sick.
So
I love it. It.
But yeah, we're getting.
What's your coolest new agent story that comes right to the top of your mind?
Yeah, so I'm going to spoil it a little bit for when I speak in Chicago. Her name's Leah Perry. So she started with me. She moved from Oregon to San Antonio. And in December, she couldn't afford Christmas. Like she was like, I don't know how I'm going to buy Christmas presents for, like, she's the one that always has to get sponsored. You know, you can sponsor a family. Yep. Hey, you're quick. So, you know, you can sponsor a family. She was always the family that got sponsored. And so, yeah. So this year in December, she was able to, for the first time, be able to afford Christmas based off the opportunity that was given to her. So
mom of 2.
Yeah. She's a single mom.
Yeah. Mom boss. I like it.
Yeah.
NHL survivor. I don't know what that means.
She's a cancer survivor.
Cancer. No, what's NHL stand for? Do you know?
I don't know what that's. Lymphoma.
Interesting. Yeah. She looks, man, it's crazy. My wife had cancer. She's 6 years out now. Be a strong woman to get through that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how long she been with you?
Almost
you said December. Okay. So this December was her first Christmas in the business.
Yep. Yep. And it was her first Christmas she could afford Christmas for her kids.
What kind of money is she bringing in?
So the last, because she had a rough start, and then she did laundry and open enrollment. She's got a crazy story. I mean, she's in and out of foster care. Insurance was hard for her at the beginning. Yeah. And so she, this past month, she made $12,000 this past month.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I love it. Let me get her on. Is she shy?
She's very introverted. I wouldn't say she's shy. She's just more like even keeled.
Well, come on, Leah. We need to open you up.
Yeah.
People want to hear from Leah.
Yeah. No, I told her, I was like,
I know JY will get on. He ain't shy.
Yeah, he's not shy.
Yeah.
No. So I told Leah, I was like, we're going to give you 2 years and we're going to get you on stage. Like, that's my goal. Like, I'm like, for me, it's like, I don't speak for me. Like, I'm speaking so other people can speak.
Hell yeah. Is she in Chicago? Is she coming or no?
No, she's
just going to talk about her.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about her. I'm going to have her do a video for me. Like,
heck yeah.
All the times I wanted to quit. I mean, truly, like, if you don't want to quit in this business, you're doing it wrong. You're not pushing hard enough. Yeah. You should be pushing so hard where you're like, oh my gosh, what the heck is happening? Yeah. And so, so part of my speech is like, who are you quitting on? And I'm going to have her speak and say, like, thank you for not quitting on me.
That's badass. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's be part of my speech.
This will not be out by the time Chicago comes. So
okay, perfect.
It won't spoil it. Yeah, we're a few weeks. I like to be ahead.
Yep.
So
I'm working on my podcast and I definitely want to be ahead. So
yeah, it's not. I like it because I'll instead of doing like one a week, I don't like it. It stresses me out and my schedule's weird and I try, you know what I mean? So now I'll knock out like 3 or 4 in a day sometimes.
Yeah.
And just be done. My team gets me ahead and then they can work on editing and I don't even know the schedule when it comes out, to be honest. We're probably a month out, roughly.
Yeah.
If I had to get. So that's dope. I love hearing it. Man, so what's your goal? You're not satisfied, which I relate to. Someone asked me the other day why I still work. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That got to be one of there. No dumb questions. I'm like, that was a pretty dumb one.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I'm not really like working. Like that's the thing. Like people like put work with like a negative.
Correct.
You know, I'm like, work's not negative. Like I'm like, when you tell me I've got work to do, I'm like, oh, I'm ready. You know?
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah. It's excitement.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I'm like,
it's funny. I'm gonna tell you something it reminded me of when I was new. Man, so you've heard my story. I was trash at this for several years, and I would be like. I was so nervous on the phones. I couldn't get out of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being like on my 3rd year and somehow it hit me. I don't know how really, but I used to play I had kids young, so I didn't play a lot of sports in high school, really. I played like backyard sports mostly. But as in my late teens, all the way through 35, when I started insurance, I got into flag football, like really heavy. Like I played like a maniac.
Yeah.
And I would travel and play and super competitive for, you know, what it is. And I remember like when I would start right before I would play, I would feel this little like funny tingle in my stomach. And I was excited to get on the field because I wanted to get out there and play. I was like, all I wanted to do was score and intercept the ball. I wanted to make shit happen.
Right.
And somehow one day it hit me. I'm like, I get this weird feeling when I'm getting on the phones, but I call it like anxiety, and I'm nervous and I'm worried. But in my stomach, it felt the exact same. Right. It's like when you get on a roller coaster and it drops, that like funny, that like little tingle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do I give it a negative in this environment, but I give it a positive when I'm playing sports? You know what I mean? Whatever, the way you just worded that reminded me of that. It's like how well you can control things. You're real. Like, have you always been this way? Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's because I was negative as shit.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
but
I
haven't even let
like
me say negative. You've corrected me a couple times.
I show up like that. If I get like negative, it's like by myself on my pillow. So I grew up dancing, not the fun kind, jazz and ballet, but I grew up dancing, and I like every dance coach will say, "Save the tears for your pillow. Save the tears for your pillow." There's no crying. Yeah, that's what I grew up with. And so, and then my dad would kind of say the same thing. He's like, tears are not getting you anywhere. Like, wipe it off and figure it out, you know? Yeah. And so I was like, okay. And so I've been trained to, if I'm going to be negative, to save it for my pillow.
Yeah. How do you deal with agents that are negative? Because that's obviously rampant. You know, people in general, but obviously in this business, do you struggle there?
I mean, sometimes. I've struggled a lot in the past before, because I mean, it'll bring me down a little bit, you know. I've struggled in the past before. I think I've been around it enough where I know how to navigate through it now. I just ask them a bunch of questions. I'm like, what is that doing for you? Yeah. Like, what is that? I mean, I use the same techniques that were used on me, like from my coach. I'm like, what is it from coaches? Like, what is that doing for you?
So sales.
Yeah.
It's the same shit. How do we get through? How we ask questions and we get people to uncover things. I love it. That's so badass. What do you want to leave people? Anything you want to talk about that we didn't touch on? Anything you want to share? Anything you want to literally the last 5 minutes, whatever you want, it's literally all yours, because I don't know everything. And again, I do a poor job prepping. So if there's anything you wanted to get out there, which I like, by the way, because I don't want it to be, I don't want this to feel rehearsed to me, or I wouldn't do it. I'd get bored.
Right.
So
right. For sure.
Like, F it. I'm going to wing it, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything, stage is yours for the last few.
I mean, I think we covered a lot already. I'm like, kind of like what I said a little bit before. Find your people. Your people are not going to tell you what you want to hear. They're going to tell you what you need to hear, you know? My sister wanted me to say, like, when I go speak in Chicago, she's like, you need to tell these people like every freaking time you wanted to quit. And I was like, oh yeah, can you forget? You know, it's like, I didn't want to quit. She's like, every freaking day. And so, because I would call her all the time, like, because I would save it for my pillow. So then at 10 o'clock at night, it would all come in. I'm like, oh, I'm still broke. My lights are about to get turned off or whatever, you know? And so she was like, my sister's a business owner. So she's like, okay, you're going to quit because somebody told you no. Like, okay. Like, she's like, okay, can you tell me something better than that? And I was like, no. Okay, I'll call you tomorrow. You know, she's like, well, show up again. So just keep showing up. I think that's important. Keep showing up, finding your people, keep showing up. I'm like, it's not a big deal to be overdrawn. You're not going to stay like that forever. It's not a big deal to be broke. Everyone's been broke.
Like, if you ain't been there, you ain't done shit in life.
Yeah. So I'm like, it's not a big deal. Like, if you're like, the world's ending, and I'm like, oh, I got a foreclosed home. You know, like I've known people that've gotten repoed. I'm like, it's a piece of property. You'll get it again. So I'm like, don't make it such a big deal because it'll consume you. So I'm like, what do I need to do about it? I think that's what I need to do about it. I think that's important to find your people. And then you have to know where you're going. You're like, okay, if I want to be this, getting that little piece of property taken away from me, that's okay. That's just part of my story now. I'm still going to be that. I'm still going to get to that. So I think having a vision is important too.
Did you have one taken away? Is that why you said that?
A car. Yeah. I've had a car repoed before.
Got it. Yeah.
It was accidentally repoed, but it still got repoed. It still put me through some really frustrating adversity. So
it's crazy. It messes you up a little bit mentally. I had a car taken and 2 houses.
Yeah.
And bankruptcy.
Yeah.
They don't mess you up.
Yeah.
Mess you up. Especially if you let it. I could have sucked it up and got through it sooner. I drug it out 4 years in my head, and I'm like, that was really stupid looking back.
Yeah. But now that you're not bankrupt and now that you don't have the houses and cars taken away, it's like, okay.
Yeah,
so like it's
part of the story.
So
and it's kind of a cool part of the story.
Right.
Actually,
right.
like now it turned out it molds us in a lot of ways.
Right. Yeah. So if I have an agent that was like, oh, I got a decline, I was like, wait till you get 20. So I'm like, it's so big where it's not a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, you want to make $500,000 a year, you're going to get a lot of fucking declines and cancels and shit's going to happen. It's like this in my world too. Like, is yours advance money and then back end money, or is it all? It is. So same concept.
Yeah. Same concept.
So if you don't keep it on the books, you lose money down the road.
Correct.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll get people that'll be like, you deal with this too. I mean, I sold 3 apps and 2 canceled. I had 2 chargebacks this week. I'm like, wait till you start selling 15 apps a week. Wait to see how many you get. Like, buckle up.
And so like that won't be as big of a deal to you though. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like if you start selling 15, you're like, oh, okay. I got 2
It's it is harder with less because it's more risk. I mean, if you only sell 3 apps, it's like, dude, the risk of 2 or 3 of them canceling is really high.
Yeah.
You sell 15, the chance of 15 canceling is literally 0.
Right.
It's funny, but I think it's wild to watch people get intimidated or scared when they do a little bit and it doesn't work out perfect. They're afraid to do more because they think that same feeling is going to it's going to follow them.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, it actually gets significantly easier.
Right. Yep. Well, and it's like 15 more people that know what you do. So that's 15 more people that can refer you. But I'm like, that's again, it's like, oh, I got to charge back. I'm like, is that helping you get more clients by like coming up to me and complaining about it?
Well, no. Amen.
Yeah.
So do you have stats for all the years? Do you know your totals?
I do have. Not for all the years.
I did my total, like 6,000 events or some. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what I get asked the most. Is my first year, so I did my first year because I went back and calculated everything. But I don't have all the years. Last year was my worst year.
Define worst.
I did. My sister has breast cancer. So I moved from Fort Worth. Currently, yeah. Okay. So I moved from Fort Worth to San Antonio.
Got it.
My sister's cancer is like at an all-time worst. It's okay. I get to talk to her every morning. I'm grateful for that, so, and then I busted my knee. So I went to go, decompress at the gym and I tore my ACL, MCL. And so then I kind of had a pity party for myself last year. I was like, I can't even walk. I was getting like really frustrated. And so I felt like I lost a lot of my mindset. Like what I've worked so hard to like stay positive. I lost a lot of that last year and I had a huge dip in business. I barely worked. I did referrals.
No, dang.
So, I still did pretty good AV because of all the activity I did year 1, year 2.
Yeah.
But I didn't prospect as much as I should have. So I'm kind of rebuilding that.
A little hit.
Yep. So, but I needed that to happen too. Sometimes you need a good kick in the ass. So that's okay.
Same sister that was in the Pillow Talk, the business owner, or is there just 2 of y'all? Got it.
Yeah, just 2 of us. Yeah.
Prayers for the sister for sure. That's a tough journey.
Yeah.
So are you out of it mentally? Are you climbing out of it still, or where are you at?
No, I'm pretty much out of it. I'm like, I'm ready to rock. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. It's weird.
The thing I hear is like, and that I try to share is like, hard shit ain't ever stopping. It's not ever going to go away.
Right.
It's life.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're expecting it to be simple, smooth, and easy every single day, it's like, dude, you're definitely putting yourself at a disadvantage.
Yeah. That's why I said that from last year. I'm like, it doesn't just go away. I mean, I didn't suck financially last year, thankfully, but yeah, it was hard still.
Mentally and grind. I've been there. I've been through stages where I'm like, were you on, I do that that monthly like Zoom mastermind that I do. I think you were on
Yep.
the most
Was
recent
on
one.
one of them.
Were you on when I had Amanda get on and share how many times I said I wanted to quit that week?
No.
She watches to answer people's questions. And I saw her on there and we were talking about this like mentality of like, dude, it is still, and actually it gets harder in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because the responsibility is bigger, the losses are bigger, like there's more demand. Right. There's a lot going on as you grow a business.
Yeah.
And someone was asking like, if I ever want to quit, if I ever wanted to quit. And I'm like, ever wanted to? Amanda, how many times did I tell you this week I want to quit? She's said 4.
Yeah.
Now the difference is I don't drag it out.
Right.
You know what I mean? I catch it, I move on, and I'm like, all right, it is what it is. Hard shit. That's what we do now. Hence the get shit done. You know what I mean? Like that's what we do now.
Yeah.
And I think it's an everyday battle to stay positive and stand up positive. Like it's hard for me. I think it's hard, assuming for you, and it's hard for most people to stay in that always positive. And it's constant work. So hopefully those of y'all watching took some stuff away from this, and appreciate you sharing for sure. And looking forward to seeing you in Chicago, though. By the time this comes out, we'll probably be getting ready. You going to the Springfield, the big one, I assume?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. We're taking a big part of our team too, so I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Dope. Yeah.
I went last year by myself.
You speaking?
So. No, I'm not speaking this year.
Cool.
I want to focus on like bringing my team, getting everyone connected.
I love it.
So,
I look forward to meeting them all. Yeah, I'm speaking, and I have 2 breakout sessions I'm doing too.
I thought about doing a breakout, but I'm like, I just don't want to put that much on my plate yet. So next year.
Yeah, they're fun. It's a neat, a little more intimate. I mean, I love the speaking part too, but breakout's my jam. Give me 50 or 100 people and let me interact for 30 minutes. I love that part. So we'll be there. For those of y'all that are wondering what the hell we're talking about when it does come out, 8% Nation, Cody Askins, he runs a big event. He does, what does he call them? Road shows all across the country, meeting different agents in different cities. It's not hard to find. Both of us are associated and work with him pretty closely. And he has a big conference. I don't know. I wish I knew the dates because I'm really bad, but it's mid-July.
July 17th through the 20th.
There you go. Thank you for knowing. I would have had to, if Amanda were there, she would have told me because I know it's mid-July.
I only know because of my team. Like my team keeps asking me. That's the only reason I know. If it was just me, I wouldn't have known.
July 17th to 20th, Springfield, Missouri. I don't know what hotel, but look them up. It's not hard to find. 8% Nation. Google it. Cody Askins. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I'll be there. Priscilla will be there, and a gang of people. And,
it's worth going. It'll change your life. I mean, I went in my 5th year, and it still changed my life. Yeah. So
I love it. I love being part of it and contributing, but I also learn. I meet cool people every time I go also. So I'm actually supposed to, I'm going to say we're doing it. So I wrote a book and we're going to drop it at his event.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
I'm like in final stages of editing it right now. And the goal and the deadline is so we can bring them in and put it out there. So share the journey, share tips with people and all that jazz. So
very cool. Well, I will be a customer for sure.
I love it. We'll keep doing what you're doing. So you're doing more social. Where do people find you if they want to?
Oh yeah. Priscilla, the health agent, literally anywhere. You can Google Priscilla Moreno, the health agent. So it's Moreno, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. If they can subscribe to my YouTube channel, I will be your best friend. I will love it.
There you go. We'll go subscribe. Looking forward to it. Appreciate you being on, and we'll be chatting soon.
I appreciate it so much.
All right. Well, later. See you guys.
See ya.